This video is all about a very easy and simple way to hand make loop buttonholes to add a personal touch to your beautiful blouses, dresses and even lingerie. And you will need hand sewing needles, matching sewing thread, buttons, and this one which is optional, and it's a buttonhole gauge. You can use a measuring tape just to get accurate, even measurements to space out your buttonholes. So starting off from the bust point, to avoid any sort of gaping, when you know where your bust point is, you can then mark out where exactly you want your buttonholes to go. And you can see that I've already created the first 5 of mine, and they're all spaced out evenly. I used threads, using my hand sewing needle, to mark exactly where I wanted mine to go, because the pencil mark was starting to rub off. That's why we've got those threads hanging there. And I have doubled up my thread. Actually, I made my threads 4, and so I folded them into 4 strands, passed them through the sewing needle. Now I'm going to double them up and tie a knot, and I would have 8 strands of threads. Now the purpose of having that is because I do not want my loop to be too chunky. If you want yours to be chunky, you can go for 12 strands, 16 strands is completely up to you, this part. And it also depends on how large the needle of your eye, the eye of your needle is. Oh gosh. Yes, so now what I'm going to do is from behind or from inside, I am going to create a loop. The loop that I create would be exactly at the marking that I measured out, and that loop needs to be wide enough for the button to pass through it. Now, yeah, so the size of it depends on the button size as well. I will be using a pencil to secure that loop as well. Yep, so the button fits through the loop, which means it's time to secure it. I use this pencil here. It's a chalk. It's my chalk actually, and I'm securing it with the chalk. And then I'm going to tie a knot at the back so that the loop doesn't enlarge or it doesn't get loose or tighter, if that makes sense. And I want to just tie a knot and put the thread away. And I'm going to move on to the interesting part of the loop. They're actually called loop buttonholes, not just loops. So you see here we've got these strands of threads that have been formed using 8 strands of threads. Yes, we will not leave it as it is, otherwise we're just going to have threads hanging everywhere. So I am now going to have more thread, and I think with this one here I used 4. I folded it twice, yes. So we've got 4 strands of threads. I'm going to pass it through the sewing needle, and but then this time I won't fold them in half. I'm just going to tie a knot at one end of the 4 strands and pass it through from like beneath the project. And remember, I have threads at the back, but that doesn't mean that they're going to remain there. We'll trim them off at the end. So when you've got the needle through, you are then going to form a loop by passing it through the loop, like under the loop, pull it through to form another loop, and then go from under the loop again. So you're going from under both times. Then gradually take your time and you're going to pull it through to form a knot. So remember, you go under, pull through, form a little loop, under again, pull through. Oops. I just made it a bit tighter there because I wanted to cover every strand with the knots. Pull through, form a loop, under, pull through. And with time you get into a rhythm, and before you know it, the entire loop is covered with knots. I have a loop that has been covered with knots, and I'm going to pass my needle through to the other side and then form a knot and trim all the stray threads. We're about to go to the interesting part. I keep calling all the different steps interesting parts, but I think this next one is very easy. I have my loops all formed now. You have to make sure the top and the bottom of the blouse or the dress, whatever it is you're making, match, and then you're going to position your loops or your buttonholes, now they're buttonholes, exactly where you want them to be, and make a mark, and that mark needs to be bang in the middle of the loop, and that's where your buttons are going to go. When I sew these buttons on, I'm going to make sure that the buttons do not get to the very edge of the seam or the very edge of the blouse, if that makes sense. So they're not so close they're very close to the edge, but they're not right at the edge. The purpose for that is so that there will be no gaping and you won't be able to see my underwear when I wear it. So you'd have a nice straight line that's neat, and you won't be able to see the button holes. Well, they're loop button holes, and I wasn't able to find the exact matching buttons, but I like these ones. But I really appreciate your contributions and your suggestions. Thanks to everyone who recommended or who suggested that I did this video, and I'm so pleased. I appreciate all your support, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. All the very best. Take care. Bye.